Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at a talk called Do We Trust Him? Heart is Good. It was given back in 2017 by Elder Stanley G. Ellis.
I've heard of him.
And this talk,
Yeah.
regardless of what you believe personally, I think there's something in here for everybody.
Right.
It really offers some interesting perspectives on resilience and facing challenges.
For sure.
So get ready to unpack why Elder Ellis believes heart is good, how the handcart pioneers fit into this whole thing, and how these ideas might actually apply to your own life.
Yeah, it's interesting how he kicks off the talk. He starts by talking about all the weighty things that God entrusts to us, things like the gospel or God's teachings, if you will, and priesthood authority, which is basically the power to act in God's name. He mentions God entrusting us with his church and the care of his children.
That's a lot right out of the gate. God trusts us with some pretty big stuff.
It is.
But then he kind of flips the script
Yeah.
and asks, do we trust him back?
Yeah. It really makes you think.
It really makes you think about your own relationship with faith and trusting a higher power.
Definitely. And, he doesn't just leave it at that broad question. He digs a little bit deeper, asking if we really believe God's commandments are for our benefit. If we trust those, he's called to lead. And do we have faith in his promises, even when life gets tough?
It's like he's asking us to take a personal inventory of our trust.
Yeah, it's almost like a self-evaluation there.
Okay, so we're establishing trust is key here. But then he throws in this curveball, heart is good. I mean, at first glance, that sounds a bit counterintuitive.
It does. It does. It seems paradoxical, but the way he explains it, hard, is like a refining fire. He sees challenges as opportunities for growth, for learning humility and getting to know yourself.
Yeah, like anybody can relate to that. Have you ever been through something really hard and you come out the other side and you're like, wow, I learned so much from that.
Yeah, you're stronger, you're wiser.
I'm a different person because of it. It's like those handcart pioneers.
Right. Yeah.
Those early members of his faith who crossed the plains, pulling all their belongings in handcarts. I mean, they endured incredible hardship, but their faith deepened because of it. They literally had to push through hard.
That's a great example. And it's interesting. He also uses the story of Nephi and the brass plates from the Book of Mormon. Obtaining those plates required a lot more effort than other tasks he was given. Why do you think that was?
Well, Elder Ellis seems to think the struggle itself was part of the plan, almost like it was meant to build Nephi's strength.
Yeah, like preparation.
Like preparation for even greater challenges ahead. So maybe hard isn't about punishment, but preparation.
It's a fascinating concept that sometimes the most valuable things in life are on the other side of a real challenge.
Yeah.
Now, this idea of facing hard, it connects to another concept he highlights, sacrifice. He reminds us that early on, members of the faith make a covenant, a kind of sacred promise to live the law of sacrifice, which, inherently means giving things up.
Yeah, I mean, he brings up some pretty powerful examples.
He does.
Of sacrifice within the Godhead, even. God the Father sacrificing his Son, Jesus suffering through the atonement. But it's not just about this one belief system.
Exactly. This concept of sacrifice. It goes beyond religion,
Yeah.
It shows up everywhere. Personal growth, careers, goals, even training for a marathon. You often have to sacrifice something. To gain something else you value even more.
Absolutely. And Elder Ellis seems to be saying, challenges or hard times, they're not a surprise.
Right. They're just part of the deal.
They're just part of the deal, part of life. It's like he uses this story of Amos people to illustrate this. They escape persecution only to face this new hard situation, enslavement.
Right. And what's really interesting is that he explains God using those trials to refine their faith and patience. It wasn't about avoiding hardship. It was about becoming better, stronger. Because of the struggle.
Yeah, it kind of reframes how you look at challenges.
Absolutely.
Right, like maybe they're not meant to break you, but to build you up in ways that you didn't know were possible. Yeah. He also talks about Joseph Smith being imprisoned. And even in that dark situation, the message was, endure it well, with the promise that trials can actually benefit us.
It's true. And what's crucial here is how we react to the hard. Elder Ellis gives two very different examples. One group, under intense persecution, they responded by turning to their faith. and actually becoming even more faithful, finding joy and peace despite the situation. Another group, after a long war, ended up bitter or broken.
Wow, that's powerful.
And this highlights, the power of choice, even when things are difficult.
It's not just what happens to you, it's how you choose to respond.
Exactly.
And that leads us to something else that really stuck with me from this talk.
Okay.
Elder Ellis cautioned against making things too easy.
What do you think he meant by that?
What do you think?
I think by the peril of easy, he was talking about, he shares a really interesting anecdote. From his time as a financial consultant, he observed these wealthy business owners who wanted to spare their children from the very challenges that had shaped their own success.
You would think they would want them to be prepared for the real world.
It's almost as if they wanted to prevent, them from developing that same grit and resilience.
But instead, they were trying to make this perfect, smooth, challenge-free path for them.
Yeah, perfectly smooth, yeah.
Which actually might not be doing them any favors.
Right. And to illustrate this even further, he contrasted those business owners with another family who made a very different choice. They were inspired by the story of J.C. Penney, a successful entrepreneur who started with very little.
So instead of shielding their kids, this family decided to instill a sense of financial independence.
Yeah, from a young age.
From a young age.
Mm-hmm.
They required their children to pay for their own education and living expenses after high school.
They had to work for it.
They had to work for it.
You know what? Those kids thrived. They became incredibly resourceful and successful.
It challenges your assumptions of, what's best for the people that you love.
Absolutely.
Like, are we actually helping them by shielding them, or are we holding them back by shielding them from these hard experiences?
It's a good question to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
This brings us back to that idea of trust.
Full circle.
Elder Ellis asks not simply, do we trust him, but do we have the faith to trust him?
Yeah.
It's a nuanced but important difference.
Yeah, it's about more than just
Right. It's about more than
intellectually agreeing.
just saying it. Yeah, it's about putting that trust into action. Even when things get tough, do we believe, that he will help us when we're struggling, even if we can't see how? Are we willing to follow his teachings, even when they seem hard, because we believe it will ultimately lead to good?
And in a world that feels increasingly uncertain, to have that kind of faith can be incredibly grounding.
It can. It can. And, Elder Ellis doesn't shy away from the tough realities of our modern world.
Mm-hmm.
The evil, the corruption, terrorism, economic hardship.
All of that.
All of that.
But in the face of all of that, his central message is fear not.
Yeah.
And that message, you hear it.
It resonates.
Resonates.
Yeah, throughout history and across different belief systems, really.
Yeah, it's not about ignoring the difficulties. It's about choosing faith over fear.
Yeah, it's so reassuring.
It really is. It's like, okay, bad things are going to happen, but we can choose to face them with courage, with faith, knowing we don't have to do it alone. We can draw strength from something greater than ourselves.
Yeah, and that leads us to a really important point,
right?
I think, something that deserves a deeper look.
Yeah.
What does hard even mean? Because
it means something different to everybody.
It's different.
For everyone.
What's hard for you is going to be a breeze for me.
Elder Ellis actually acknowledges this. He points out that hard is subjective. It could be financial struggles, relationship issues, demanding responsibilities, or even that internal struggle of repentance and changing your ways.
And what I find so beautiful about all of this is that no matter what form it takes, his core message stays the same.
Yeah.
Hard can be a catalyst for good when we face it with faith and trust in God's plan. So what does hard mean to you? That's something to think about.
Yeah, it's a powerful question to consider, because when you really embrace this idea that hard is good, it can change your whole outlook on life, Instead of just trying to avoid challenges all the time, you start seeing them as opportunities.
You start to look forward to them almost.
Almost, yeah.
Like, what can I learn from this? It's about recognizing that on the other side of hard is growth and ultimately a more fulfilling life.
His talk is full of examples of people who chose to face hard with courage and faith.
It is. It is.
And they end up stronger, more resilient because of it.
It's fascinating how he weaves together stories from Scripture, like those handcart pioneers we were talking about, and Nephi, with his own personal experiences, like those business owners he met as a financial consultant. It shows how these principles can really apply to anyone, regardless of your background or beliefs.
Right. It makes it so relatable because you realize these were real people. They had real struggles and they found ways to overcome them. It gives you that feeling of like, hey, if they can do it, maybe I can do it too.
Absolutely. And, it's not about just barely getting through hard times.
Right.
It's about thriving in spite of them.
Think about that family that decided to teach their kids financial independence. Right. They didn't just survive, they excelled because of that.
They used it almost like as a springboard for success.
They turned hard into an advantage.
Exactly. And this goes back to, that idea of trusting in something bigger than yourself, whatever that might be for you, believing that.
Yeah.
There's a greater plan, even when you can't see it in the moment.
It's like letting go of that need to control everything.
Right.
And allowing yourself to be guided by something larger than your own limited understanding.
Yeah, and that can be incredibly freeing. Because when you surrender that need to micromanage every detail of your life, you open yourself up to possibilities that you might never have imagined on your own.
It's almost like the most amazing things come out of those. Very challenges we try to avoid. It's ironic.
It is. It is. The things that we often perceive as roadblocks
Yeah.
can actually become the catalysts for our most significant growth and transformation.
Yeah.
It's like that old saying, the greatest challenges often hold the greatest rewards.
And when you face those challenges with faith, faith in yourself, faith in a higher power, faith in the goodness of life, whatever it is that resonates with you, you access this inner strength and resilience that you didn't even know you had.
Yeah, it's like having a superpower, a secret weapon.
And it's not about denying the difficulty or pretending everything is easy. It's about choosing to face those challenges with a different mindset, knowing that you have what it takes to get through them.
That shift in mindset can make such a difference.
It really can. Instead of feeling defeated or overwhelmed, you start to feel empowered, determined.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a time when I was going through a really tough period.
Tell me about it.
I was facing a huge career setback. I felt like I had failed and I didn't know how I was going to bounce back. But then I remembered this idea that hard is good. And I decided to look at the situation differently, And instead of dwelling on the negative, I started focusing on what I could learn from the experience.
That's a great example of shifting your perspective in a really difficult moment.
And it's amazing what happened. I started seeing these opportunities I hadn't noticed before. I learned new skills. I connected with people who helped me grow. And eventually, I actually landed an even better job than the one that I had lost.
It's almost like you went through a metamorphosis.
I did. And I think that's what he's getting at in this talk. It's not about seeking out hardship. It's about recognizing that when it comes. And it will come. We have the power to choose how we respond.
And that choice will determine the outcome.
Right.
Will we let the challenge define us, limit us, or will we use it as fuel to become stronger, more understanding, and ultimately more compassionate human beings?
So it really all comes back to hard is good.
Okay.
It's not about glorifying suffering or seeking out painful experiences. It's about realizing that challenges are a natural part of life and that if we face them with courage and faith, they can become these incredible opportunities for growth and positive transformation.
It's a beautiful concept.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder that the most fulfilling and rewarding moments in life often come when we push past our perceived limits, step outside of our comfort zone, and embrace the unknown.
And when we approach those experiences with a willingness to learn, with an open mind and heart, we uncover this deep well of inner strength and resilience that we may not have known we had.
It's like we unlock this hidden reserve of power within ourselves.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I think it's important to reflect on what Elder Ellis said about sacrifice. He doesn't shy away from the fact that sometimes growth requires us to give something up, to let go of something we might be holding on to.
Yeah, and that can be a scary proposition.
Right.
What if those sacrifices are actually making space for something even better, something we can't even imagine yet?
It's like clearing out the clutter to make room for something new and beautiful.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. What might you need to sacrifice to achieve your goals and experience true growth? Is there something you've been holding back on? Some comfort you need to let go of? Some fear you need to face head on?
Yeah, it really is. Like, what do I need to let go of?
It's a good question to ask yourself.
So much to think about.
What struck me about Elder Ellis's approach is that, he doesn't give us a step-by-step solution to life's problems. He doesn't say, do this and everything will be fine.
Right.
Instead, he really encourages us to look inward, to examine our own beliefs and discover that inner strength that we all have.
It's not about here's the magic formula. It's more like here's a lens to look through.
Right, a perspective that can empower you to
Yeah.
navigate those challenges that life throws your way.
And that's what makes it so powerful and so universal. It's not about adhering to a specific doctrine
Right.
or belief system. It's about cultivating that inner resilience, having faith in something bigger than yourself, and being open to embracing hard as this path to growth and a more fulfilling life.
It's a message that can resonate with anyone, regardless of their background or beliefs.
Yeah, because we all go through challenges.
Sort
We've
of.
all experienced those setbacks. We all have those moments where we just want to throw in the towel.
Yeah, but it's in those moments that, we have a choice to make.
Yeah.
Do we give in to the difficulty?
Mm.
Or do we find a way to rise above it?
And that choice can really change the course of our lives.
It can.
You can let it define you and hold you back, or you can use it as fuel to become stronger, wiser, more compassionate individuals. And it all comes back to hard is good.
He does.
It's not about seeking out suffering or pain. It's about recognizing that challenges are just part of life.
Part of the deal.
And when we face them with courage and faith, they can become these incredible opportunities for growth and positive change.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold, highlighting the cracks and imperfections. It's a beautiful metaphor for how, our own brokenness, our struggles, our challenges can actually make us stronger and more beautiful in the end.
Wow, I like that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a reminder, that those meaningful and rewarding experiences often come when we, push past our limits, step outside of our comfort zone, embrace the unknown.
And when we approach them with a willingness to learn, with an open mind and heart, we uncover this incredible resilience and inner strength that we didn't know we had.
Like we unlock this hidden reserve of power within ourselves.
So as we come to the end of our deep dive today, I think it's important to remember what Elder Ellis said about sacrifice. He says, sometimes growth requires us to give something up, let go of something we might be holding on to.
And that can be scary.
It can be.
But what if? Those sacrifices are actually making space for something even better that we can't even imagine yet.
It's like clearing out the clutter to make room for something new and beautiful.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this one final thought. What might you need to sacrifice to achieve your goals and experience true growth? Is there something you're holding back on? Some comfort you need to let go of? Some fear you need to face head on?
Because as we've learned today from Elder Ellis, sometimes the greatest rewards lie on the other side of hard. So embrace that challenge. Step outside of your comfort zone and trust in your own strength to overcome any obstacle that comes your way.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Lean on your faith, connect with your community, and allow yourself to be supported.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Do We Trust Him? Hard is Good. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing yourself to grow.